Miss Cassie. Yes, I'm sitting on the opposite side. I hope you can get used to it faster than I'm going to. Anyways, my most magnificent guest tonight is Miz Fiona X.
Thank you.
She is absolutely amazing. As I was researching this young lady, I realized she has been on the Sanctuary staff well over a year now.
Absolutely. Yeah, for a year and a half.
That's a long time.
I've been doing pro play for three
So
years.
you were independent before you came to Sanctuary?
I worked at another dungeon before I came to Sanctuary. Yeah.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, were you a pro dom, a pro switch, or a pro sub there?
I started as a pro sub, and then my last few months there, I was a switch, and then I have been a switch at Sanctuary the entire time I've been there.
Interesting. I know that, you know, being a switch is probably the most fun. I know lifestyle-wise, I have the most fun as a switch because I get to play with both sides of the paddle.
Right.
But as a professional, how does that work for you?
It's fantastic and it's challenging. It's challenging. I think it's challenging in terms of actually being able to articulate to people how you can play both sides. Because a lot of people are like, yeah, but are you really submissive or are you really dominant?
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
No,
that's the answer to that question. Yes,
I do know that because I had people ask me of that because I was dominant professional and I was living in somebody's home as a submissive.
Right.
And they're going, how in the world do you switch roles? And I said, I don't think about it. When I'm at home, I am who I am. When I'm on the job, I am who I am. When I'm on my show, I am who I am.
Exactly.
I'm ever not who I am. You know, so it's like, how do you define that?
It's just what's getting called forth in the context, in the environment that you're in, and the people that you're with, and all of that. So yes, I mean, I love both sides of the play so much.
Yes, absolutely.
I get something, you know, my styles of play are really different in one sphere than the other, and I get something really different and beautiful and rich from both sides of play. And I have a lot of people asking, so, you know, so when are you going to become just a mistress? And I'm like, I don't expect to do that.
And I love that because, you know, so many people are so black and white about this, but I can't tell you how many people in the lifestyle I know bought into that theory, did their time as a sub, learned how to, you know, do that, worked their way up to a switch, and then finally became a dominant. And it was mostly because of peer pressure. And then when they became a dominant and decided, I'm going to do what the fuck I want, went back to being a switch because they really enjoyed having a chance to assume either role and having those times where they could let go and let somebody else be in charge. And then those times where they got to direct the play. And they like having that flexibility.
I love having that flexibility. I mean, I find it empowering. You know, I find it lovely and satisfying and so rich to be able to occupy one part of myself in a certain space with certain people, and then occupy a different part of myself, sometimes in the same day, sometimes like hour to hour to hour to hour on the same shift, right? Like in professional play, right? Like sometimes that switching literally happens. This session, that session, this session, and then within sessions. For the most part, most people don't want me switching within a session unless it's a very split down the middle session where it's like, okay, we start with the gentleman dominating, and then we'll switch so I'm dominating, which I like it that way better because then I can't take it out on them.
Oh, that's really interesting because, you know, I would get often an opposite effect, you know. We would play back and forth, and I'm going, oh no, I want to dominate you.
Right.
You know, and yeah, it was always interesting how it plays out.
Yeah. I found that like that more fluid space in particular role plays. Like I'm an incredible fan of interrogation play and hostage play, and I love it. And I love being like the submissive in that because it's a space where I can submit, but I also have permission to fight back. right? Like I have permission to just go balls to the wall. Like I'm supposed to be trying to escape, right? You know,
oh,
so
I
like,
like that.
you know,
A little bit of feistiness.
So it's like if I'm supposed to be trying to escape, I will try to escape. You know what I mean? I'm going to kick. I'm going to scream. I'm going to shriek. I'm going to thrash my legs. I am going to try and get out of any bondage I'm in. I'm going to verbally, you know, attempt to placate and cajole and weasel my way out of any situation I can. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And then, you know, if I do get out or get away,
you like to turn the tables.
Woe be to the captor.
You know, I tell this to all my rope students that switches probably have the most fun with rope. You know, because isn't it fun to play out all those different scenarios? Yes. You know, it's fun to try to escape a kidnap scenario and stuff that you've arranged with your partner. It's fun to mastermind it on the other end. You know, and when you both enjoy both ends of it, you know, it becomes something that you both enjoy rather than somebody being antagonistic against the other.
Right, right. I'm curious though about the rope piece because I've actually been wanting to ask you like about your rope love and bondage love because it's not high on my list. Like rope is not my go-to. Like I'm actually neutral on rope. I can thoroughly enjoy playing that way, but if someone laid out 10 different things and rope is one of them, it's not going to be one of the first few things that I reach for ever.
You're not alone in that.
You know,
rope, you know, if you really love rope, takes a little bit of skill. Actually not so much skill, but practice. You know, because you can learn this. Yeah, skill does play into it. But if you've got the desire to do rope, I find most people can find a way to do that. And I heard Mel go, so what's up, Mel?
Oh, the chair? I know my chair is making noises. I just want, you know, it's like, hello, I'm not having sex here.
I was going to say there's some excitement happening in the other room.
No, it wasn't sex. What's up?
Well, it's because, you know, we have people that are watching. If you're not in the chat room, please come in the chat room. The reason why is because we have a newbie that his first time watching the shows. He watched my recorded show today, and it is Man Dies Pulse. That is his name. Welcome to TSRnetwork.com, to the live show. We have Darren in the chat room. We have Patty in the chat room. We have Tiger in the chat room. We have lots of people that are watching. I can see the numbers are going up and up. If you are not in that chat room, get over to TSRnetwork/watch _live /. And Man Dies Paul says, fun to hear a different side. Oh, it's Amanda. I spoke with you on Friday before the flogging class. Hello, Amanda. Yes. Woo, 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 woo. Welcome to TSR Network. Love it. Love it. Okay, I'm done.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Mel. Yeah, there are going to a lot of people, you know, question what it is to be a switch. I was a professional switch. Well, first I was a professional dom. Then when Sanctuary opened up, they needed more switches. I said, well, what the heck? I always enjoy subbing with my sir. This might be fun.
Right.
It didn't turn out to be a pleasure for me. And pretty soon I found myself preferring to be a dom professionally, though I still, in my personal life, will switch.
Right. Can I ask what was less than pleasurable in that experience?
Basically, I would say that I had the masochist beaten out of me. I had a few really bad sessions. I've got permanent scars from 2 of them. Okay. One from a single tail session and one from a wooden paddle session. And then I have scars on my breast from a wax play session. Okay. And I have to tell you, you know, I don't know if I have an inability to call boundaries or, you know, I think I'm just much better as a dom, as a professional, because I have more control over the situation.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm thinking of a couple of things. One of which is I'm not a masochist, so I don't venture into those realms very often. Or, I mean, I need to be eased into things. I can go very far, like if I'm eased into things, but a lot of times people will come in and they will just wow the hell out of me right off the bat, and it's like, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I'm done, sir.
Yeah, that happened to me one too many times. And I mean,
Yeah.
one time I had bruises on my ass for 6 weeks.
Right.
I couldn't sit down for a month.
Right. The only time I've had bruises on my ass for 6 weeks was completely chosen. Like I knew going into it, and it wasn't in a professional scene, right? Like it was in personal play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is something different, right, with the marks that you get.
Yeah, in personal play, I would be proud of those. And professional play, not so much. It's because, you know, a lot of times I didn't actually consent to that, and they just went past my limits in the session. And then the front desk would go, well, it's your fault for not asking for a heavy session fee. And I'm just like, I don't want to do this.
It's tough to negotiate all of that. Like, I don't even just mean negotiating with the client. I mean negotiating with yourself and negotiating with the physiologically what's happening as you're taking pain and managing pain. Like all of that stuff goes into the mix. But I know for myself, I'm a person who I love marks that come from good play, and most people that I talk to, you know, like who like their marks, like love them from good play.
From good play.
And I've spoken to other people and they're like, but you say you like marks, and I'm like, well, a mark from bad play is a reminder of that.
No, that just makes me feel victimized. That makes me feel stupid. That feels like I allowed somebody to victimize me. Not so much that they're a sadist and took advantage of me. It was like I was stupid enough to let somebody victimize me.
You didn't hold your ground.
Yeah, and that makes me feel bad when all I was trying to do was honor what they want and give them what they wanted. And then they took that and they turned it into something ugly and they hurt me. You know, that is just not the way to go, even in a professional session. Mel, I can see your hand going up. Is there a question?
Yeah, we have Poindexter has come into the chat room. Welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. Tiger is a switch. Tiger says, I love pain primarily, so I consider myself a masochist, but it's not 50-50. I'd say I'm 80% masochist, 20 or less sadist. And also, which I'd like you guys to explain something, Mandy's Paul said, I'm new to the whole lifestyle. I'm not sure if I'm a switch yet. So can you guys kind of explain to her about what it is like being a switch?
Oh my goodness.
And Tiger says that she's naturally submissive at heart. And she says, my dominant side has to be beaten or teased out of me. I can't switch at will, sadly.
Oh, that's interesting. I know of my submissive side is because I generally care about people and I really like to take care of them. I like to serve people and see that their needs are made. But the part of it that's a double-edged sword for me is I've been taken advantage of many times and I don't have a good self-protective mode. So I'm better off as a dom, and I'm a damn fine dom. So what's your take on the situation?
Well, first of all, that you are much better off. Like it's dangerous to submit when you don't know how to protect yourself, right? And for people who they find in themselves that, you know, that's truly their calling, truly their space to be in is to know themselves as submissive. I say, I have found the most power in this play. My own experiences in this play, I have experienced so much power as a submissive, like tremendous. I have learned so much about what it is like to, you know, you go into something and you make an agreement and you agree. You don't necessarily agree to these 5 swats and this thing. And I'm speaking more in terms of personal play than professional play, and going into a space where you're playing with someone you trust and they know your limits and they respect them and they know you well enough to push, right? To push at those boundaries a little bit. And you challenge yourself and you get pushed and you learn so much about not what you can take, like for the sake of taking it, right? Or for the sake of taking it for money, or for the sake of taking it because you want that client to come back, but what you can take because you have agreed. And your choices at some point are, I will submit with as much fucking grace as I can muster, or I will exit myself from what's happening. Like at some point you have to just show up with grace, right? Like I don't,
Yes.
you have your face in a bowl of dog food and your ass in the air and it's what you agreed to.
Yes.
Show up with grace and learn that you can accept this, and it makes you strong. At least for myself, like it made me submitting in those spaces and learning like, oh, I can put myself through the craziest shit and come out like so calm and so assured and so much with a sense of endurance in the best way, like things that you take out of the play space and you put them in regular life, right? Like, and you say, oh, I hate this fucking job. I'm not talking about pro play.
Yes.
I'm talking about, the data entry job you have or
Yes.
whatever it is. Like, you can also then say like, and this is what I agreed to submit to for the next 8 hours. And you show up for your job with grace. You do your work. You're done. And you know what, that kind of thing, that kind of learning was really, really valuable to me.
That is hard. And I know that it's like when I was with my husband many, many years ago, back when I was with a man, I did everything for him. And I did things that people would consider debasing, going, how could you do that for that man? And the thing is, he always made me feel valued no matter what. No matter what heinous thing he asked me to do. And he asked me to do some horrible things,
Right.
To support him and his habits and everything that went on. I mean, I had no rights. I was property. Back then, marriage was love, honor, and obey. I was property.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, he never made me feel less than. He felt like I was at least a valued commodity, even though I wasn't an equal.
Ah, that's an interesting way to put it.
And then now I see people just see me as a piece of shit sometimes when I submit. Just a thing to be used and kicked to the side and to shit in your mouth and kick you into the corner and ignore you. I mean, that's how I've been treated as a submissive. And that's not how any human being should be treated.
No, because that's not how any human being should be treated. I mean, that's not human care. Like, we don't leave aside human care when we enter into this space of play. We have to heighten human care. We have to elevate human care. Because we are going to dark places, but we're choosing to do that. And when we choose to do that, it can be a brilliant, brilliant thing. But when it's not, then you're crossing the line into abusive behaviors, right? And there are people who don't know the difference in the vanilla world and don't know the difference in this world.
That is an excellent point. And I'm so glad that she said this, because it is. A lot of people don't know the difference. And we even see this in clients who see this as a way to legally beat a woman, to legally abuse a woman. Now, we have to say, those of you out there, those clients do not last long in a professional environment. An upstanding professional dungeon will not allow that type of client to session with the people on staff.
Exactly. I've had a couple of instances, and I mean, I've had a client who went too far, who didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, and they're educatable, right?
Well, they are.
And that's when you educate, right? But you sit down and you really clearly educate them, or the headmistress of the house does, or whatever happens in that space. If they can be educated, educate them. And if they can't, you send them out the door.
Yes, and I've had actually management twice have two of my clients that are not allowed back to the dungeon.
Right.
One who single-tailed me and said, oh, Mistress Melissa does this to me all the time. Doesn't it feel wonderful? I showed them what he did to my back. And after the second session, he had the audacity to say to me, oh, I just had eye surgery. Didn't I do good for somebody who can't see? That was one of the decisions that and then one more session after that was the final breaking point for me as a professional switch, just to make the switch to dominant, knowing that for whatever reason, my boundaries were not going to be respected as a professional switch.
Right. That makes sense. I had a client who did do that, like who came in. It was a client I'd never seen. It was a new person, and they came in and they were very rushed. This is not at Sanctuary, in different play, and they were like wanted to just get in the room right away, right? Which is already a signal, like
red flag, major
let's
red flag.
slow down just a little, you know. And but they outline like they want to do a role play, like can you be like the hot, sexy, like wife? Like, can you change out of your like little flirty, submissive girl corset thing? And,
yes,
you know, and can you like be like the hot, sexy wife? And we can do, and you're the cheating spouse. And I'm like, sure.
Why not? It's
I love role play. That's fantastic.
That's
yes,
what we do.
Let's go. I'm sure I'll abjectly apologize to all of my sins, you know, in the room. And then we get up there, and I'm restrained in the space, and he starts a corporal, you know, punishment sort of thing, plus a lot of verbal. And I realized really quickly, this isn't a role play for this client. This has just happened. He has just found out that his wife is cheating on him.
Oh my God.
And he has come to beat the ever-loving fuck out of his cheating wife.
Oh my God.
And so it's like one of those, and it was I was new to professional play. I had only been playing for 2 months or so at the time. I'm in lifestyle for a long time, but professional play
is totally different.
Nothing like personal play.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
To anyone out there who needs to know that or hear that, it is. You can bring a flogger in the room and some things will look the same. It is not the same.
I've had that talk with many a submissive, explaining to them,
yes,
you know, the first couple times this is going to be thrilling, but eventually you're not going to get the same payoff as you do with a personal play partner. After a while, you're going to feel used and abused. And you have to separate yourself mentally that this is fantasy role play. And then 24/7, what you do with your lifestyle partner is for real.
Right. And you bring yourself, I mean, if I'm submitting, I bring myself into the room. And at the same time, it's time constrained. We're people who, you know, oftentimes don't know each other very well. Like, unless it's a repeat client. That, you know, and I'm fortunate to have an incredibly loyal,
you're
wonderful
so
clientele.
lucky when you have that regular clientele.
You know, and so we can grow in play. Many of them I grow in play with our play. It shifts, it changes dynamic, things that they never thought they wanted to try when we were playing. We can try.
Well,
some of them who were dominating me, who were like, okay, I am curious about like what it would be like to be spanked.
Because trust is built.
Because they can trust me in that space.
And then you can take the play to a whole different level. I mean, I've got a few clients like that, and usually because it involves suspension, I only get to see them like maybe 3 or 4 times a year at the most, because they have to save up for it. But I treasure those clients because they come to see me for what is uniquely me, for what I can do uniquely for them that they can't get from anybody else. And we share that magic moment. Those are the clients I cherish.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful when you get that, you know. And I thinking, you know, in terms of boundaries and playing, like had a client that I've played with many times who I adore. We have like just a wonderful play dynamic. Nice. And he violated a hard limit of mine in session. And it was one of those things where you just go like, it's such a different thing when someone does. It was completely unintentional. Nothing in him was meaning to do that. Nothing in him. And you can forgive that. You can go on from that. You can make he was abjectly apologetic, you know, because I freaked out right away.
Well, because he had remorse. When a client has remorse like that, when they know they crossed a boundary and they go, oops, did not mean it. Can you forgive me? You're like, of course.
And because it wasn't that like, oh, I know you said you didn't want that, but I thought I would. It was literally
it
like
wasn't
horror.
Manipulated.
It was complete horror on his part.
Oh
like
my goodness.
It was simply a misstrike with an implement. Do you know what I mean? Like it was simply a misstrike, and it was like, and he was
Oh.
because I hit the floor and I was sobbing. He was like, and he knew what had happened instantly. And that's one of those things you say, like, it's not a matter of we can never play again because he violated my hard limit. It was like, no,
it's okay.
He will be even more careful going forward.
Well, because sometimes they forget that we too are human beings. I have so many clients that forget I'm a human being, and they're so caught up in the fantasy role play, they forget I might actually have feelings as a human being on this planet. That, calling me a heinous bitch to my face might actually make me cry a little bit. I am a woman, and I'm a really loving woman. I mean, I can play a fantasy role, but, let's not be Hitler. And I can see Mel has got somebody in that chat room.
Oh, I was letting you finish. I was just telling you I have a question. I have a couple statements and a question. The reason why I wanted to get this in, when you were talking about somebody mistreating you at the dungeon, Cassie, Tiger says, "Oh shit. Oh, that's a horrible scene." And then Poindexter says, "Hey, I'm saying that I'm a bottom more than a switch. I don't top well, so I bottom happily." And Mandy's Paul says, "I have never played, as I told Rev Mel, and you mentioned to play in the dungeon. I completely understand the reason behind that. Safety in numbers and all. Do either of you have any guidance for someone who has never played, who prefers not to play in public because of shyness for showing something so personal?"
Well, I can tell you about the first time that I went to a dungeon all by myself. I had been in a long-term DS relationship for almost 3 years. And never, ever been to a dungeon by myself. I never had permission. The only time I'd ever gone without him was when I had permission to go with somebody else. I got all sorts of trouble because other women that wanted to be his submissive reported back to him, and it's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, it is terrifying. And I have to tell you, that first night in that dungeon, and it was up in Reseda, back when Sanctuary used to be up there.
Right,
that's why I went there, because I knew it was Mr. Cyan's place. And whatever I decided to do that night, somehow I was going to be safe. And the first few people that approached me, oh my God, I was fresh meat. By the third person, I found my dom side, and I did my first suspension that night. That was my first experience by myself in a dungeon. A lot of people I know that are new to the lifestyle, they don't do that. They don't go to a dungeon by themselves. They go with a girlfriend or a friend or somebody they met at a lunch, and they go and they support each other. Or like, I had somebody I'm protecting in the lifestyle. They're smart enough to get somebody to protect them. So yes, going all by yourself, not knowing anybody, scary as shit. It's like but there's a lot of people out there that will support you. If nothing else, establish, a little friendly back and forth with somebody online that you can check in with about your first experience, because going by yourself, oh my God.
Going by yourself can be tremendously scary.
Yes.
Tremendously scary. And public play isn't for some people.
No, it's not.
And if it's not for you, you shouldn't have to do it. There are other venues, and obviously personal relationships, and those are tricky to establish until you go into public play spaces. I mean, I love to work with people who are super new. I'm sure that you do too. Like, I have people who come in and who are in that space of like, they want to learn, and they want to learn what their limits are. They want to learn how equipment works. They want to learn all sorts of things.
My favorite is when a couple comes in and says, we want to learn how to use our toys. And my first response is, bring in your toy bag and we will center a session around what you have in your bag.
Exactly.
And that's what I want to do. I want to, show them the joys of this.
Yes.
educate them to, pain gate theory and all the things that go along with it, but teach them how to do it safe, sane, and consensual, and how to build up to an elation,
Exactly. I mean, and using the toys properly is
that makes a
tremendous. It's tremendous.
know.
You can stop. You can shut down the dynamic that's happening so quickly with a few really cruddy hits.
Well, you can.
You don't have to be perfect, but you
can
need to
just
be
say,
learning.
I'm sorry if you accidentally hit a little low on the rib cage or you hit the tailbone. Even as a professional, I have an off day. When that happens, I take my hand, I caress the part that's been hit in the wrong spot. I ask my bottom very gently, are you all right? Was that okay for you? I'm sorry, I did not mean to hit you there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, do you want to go on? And usually they're so taken back by the fact that I care enough to ask them.
Right.
They're like, no, mistress, please continue. I'm enjoying this.
Right. You have to check in.
Yes.
Absolutely have to check in.
And it's not a sign of cowardice or saying that, I fucked up. There is a 3% human factor in everything in life. I was an IT professional, and even with computers, as perfect as they are, the programmer was still a human, and there's a 3% error factor in absolutely everything, hardware or software.
Right.
No matter what we want to speak to, even God probably has a 3% error factor because he loves us so much. And sometimes I am sure that the God or goddess that rules us all is sometimes blinded by love.
She's busy doing other things sometimes.
No shit! How many things were there in the news today? What's up now?
Oh, was it me not paying attention? Oh, sorry.
I saw your hand go up.
Yeah. They're talking in the chat room, and there's a Poindexter is suggesting that she wears a mask if she doesn't want anyone to know who she is, which is a great idea. And and then I told her that, like at the Lear, there's private rooms that she can go into. So they're carrying on in the conversation. There's a lot of people that are watching that are not in the chat room. Please shoot over there. We also want to put a shout out to Heather, who has come into the chat room. Welcome, Heather. Welcome. Nice to see you again.
Absolutely. Welcome, Heather. And that is an interesting subject that Poindexter brought up, because we do get a lot of people as our clients that can't have their faces in the community. Right. And I know that happens in my rope classes. And at the beginning of the class, I have to make this little announcement about photography and about how there are some people who cannot afford to have their faces in pictures. And some people are like, what? And I'm just like, whatever, dude, just make sure you have their permission. We have a room off to the side where you can take pictures of your debauchery. Exactly. Just make sure whoever you're debauching on, you have their permission to take their picture.
And whoever's standing in the background.
Exactly.
Who just happens to be in this space. They don't even have to be part of the scene. But you take a picture of someone within a certain space, they are part of the scene.
Exactly. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in BDSM stays in BDSM. To a point. I mean, of course, we all know that there are those legal ramifications we go across. And it's like, I know it isn't always easy in this lifestyle to understand the barrier between what is a great scene and what could actually be abuse for somebody. But that's also on an individual basis, depending on what you have experienced in your life. Because I don't know if you've had clients like this or even people you've met in the lifestyle, but there are actually therapists now that recognize that some people need to be in service or some people need to be in dominance, and they are now referring us to our lifestyle.
Yes, which is fantastic. A dear friend of mine is a BDSM oriented therapist and mental health professional, and I mean, she leads in the space with that, and it's fantastic because she can have people who are coming to her who know that they can get completely non-judgmental, helpful information, about this. Like most people, when they come into these desires, struggle at some point with their self-identity and is this healthy? Is it not healthy? Am I a bad person? Am I a good person? Like, what am I?
Acceptance.
If I want to, you know, and
Mhm.
it's something that is as challenging for people who identify as sadist as it is for people who identify as a masochist or as a submissive. Like what does it mean that I am happy striking someone with an implement, whether that is like a little tap that does this, or whether I'm actually raising a bloody welt on them.
And that can be a great deal of guilt for some people, because they feel the need to lash out like this, but yet, you know, maybe they experienced that as a child, and they know that as a child they didn't have consent for that. An adult, you know, it's like they feel the need to do that, but yet again they feel a little bit guilty because they go, is this a person giving me full consent to do this?
Right.
You
And
know?
it always goes back to that, right? It always goes back to consent. And, you know, as we have the people who are in the chat room and are asking questions and talking, you know, it's right. You are right to be concerned about your privacy. You are right to be concerned about going, you know, and playing in public. You are right to be concerned about that in the same way that you're right to be concerned about that if you go into any big venue anywhere. You know, but if you're in a space, you're putting your body on the line. Like, don't put your body on the line until you have some sense of the environment being able to hold you in that, because you know people in the environment. Part of what happens that I see is like, and it's easy, right? Like you enter this space and you've been fantasizing and dreaming for years, and you've had all of these impulses and desires, and finally you enter a space and you see people doing it.
Yes.
You see people shrieking gleefully and squirming,
you see acceptance for the first time in your life,
right? And you want to jump in and do it. And what I want to say is, don't jump in. This is the time to put your toe in the water. Go on the steps on the shallow end.
Yes.
In the same way that we would not tell someone who has never driven a race car before to like go out and buy a Porsche and drive as fast as you can because you really like NASCAR.
Oh, I know.
You're gonna crash.
Who
you know what I mean? You don't
like
go from driving your Honda Accord to drive. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
you have to. I mean, the best way that I can look at it is sort of like as an athleticism, and you do need to train. Like, you do need to have people around, coaches and a team and all of that you can actually train and develop your skills, whether it's as a dominant or as a submissive, and you can do it in a way that is going to keep you safe and keep you pushed.
Yes, and submissives do have skills. It isn't just about taking a beating. It isn't just about able to hold a pose. It is really a growth process.
Very much so.
And I get so many people, they're like, you know, for whatever reason, they need to have something beaten out of them. And then they've processed all that, and they're not quite sure what to do next because they never made any plans beyond submissive. You know, a lot of us grow from this. We process what we need to as a submissive. We get the beatings we need to process that guilt or whatever it is that brought us there. And then we grow strength, we get stronger, and then we see the other side. And then we see the benefit of what we can give to somebody else in that same process, and perhaps help them grow, or perhaps help them manage an unmanageable life that can't be managed any other way than to be able to have a certain kind of physical contact this way to make the rest of the world make sense this way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I guess I'm thinking about some of my clients that I dominate, right? And the way they come into the space and what they're needing, and because for them, for so many of them, it is that hour, that 2 hours, that 3 hour time block or whatever, like that you're gonna be in a room with them, and they're giving so much trust over, and they need something, and they need it to be able to like leave the room at the end of that 1 or 2 or 3 hours and step back into their life and hold steady
Yes.
in their regular life. And it's a tremendous gift, right? And a tremendous responsibility that's happening in the room at the same time. And I know that I've learned, you know, like one of the things that I like to do most as a dominant is CBT.
Yes.
I love
She loves this.
cock and ball torture. Makes me very happy.
Well, I know after a ball kicking session, I am just happy for at least 2 or 3 weeks.
and it's so funny because some folks who, you know, wonderful people in my life who don't have the interests that I have, right? Like they don't share these interests, and they share a love of me. You know, they adore me and they love me and they're thrilled with what I do, and they're also a little perplexed sometimes, right? Like,
Yes.
like, you know, or they what, you know, do you have to be really angry at someone to like kick them that way or hit them? I'm like, I can't play when I'm angry.
No.
I can't be
Giggle
a
when
sadist
I slap a crock.
when, right? It's
Yeah.
like I can't act like, I can't be in that sadistic place and be angry. That's
No.
abuse. Then I'm becoming an abuser. Like if I'm transferring some
Yeah, I
anger for
won't
some,
play with somebody if I have anger issues with them.
Right.
There is one person in the scene. He was a client of ours up in Reseda. He came down to Sanctuary, and somewhere he crossed the line. And I can't play with him because he makes me angry. And he doesn't understand that I can't talk to him because he makes me angry. And dude, I won't play with you because I will hurt you. You
Right.
make me that angry. And I'm so sorry. I'm sure he's not a bad person, but I am not the only mistress he's crossed the line with. And I don't feel like I'm the only mistress that has to forgive him. It's okay for me to have one client I don't want a session with.
it's okay for you to have 100 clients you don't want a session with. You know what I mean? It's that's absolutely okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's absolutely okay. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like when you're dominating, it's absolutely okay to have limits and have boundaries and say, this is not a way I play. This is not, I've had
Exactly.
client spring, like race play, anti-Semitic play
That's
on
hard.
me in the middle of a session
Oh,
without
you have to
without
negotiate that.
we didn't negotiate it. We didn't, and it happened in the space. And I was like, I'm not gonna roll with it to keep it going, but I'm gonna roll with it to shift out of it without stopping the play.
Yes.
And I'm gonna use the dynamic of the play to shift us out of this because I'm topping, so I can be the boss of what we're doing and not doing, right?
Exactly.
And I shifted it out of that and made it really clear, like, this is not territory we go into while staying within the role play. And then he went back into it again, at which point I stopped. Like I broke role play and I was like, we're not playing now.
Good for you.
We can continue the scene, and I'm happy to continue the scene if we stop this part of the play. Or if this is really important to you, we can talk about bringing someone else into the scene who is comfortable doing this sort of play, but we didn't negotiate this, and this is not play that I do.
Good for you.
You know?
Race play is not for everybody.
No, it's not. I mean, and it's for folks that it's on their radar and it's good for them and it's empowering for them. Fantastic. Spanking isn't for everybody, right? There are so many people in the world who are like, why would you do that?
Just like a lot of people don't like bondage, you know,
Yeah.
because it's constricting. Some people need a little more freedom. You know, at least with a spanking, you stand the chance of running away. And then, of course, you do what I do. I climb to the chair.
I was going to say, well, if you could get off my lap.
That's true. That's true.
Then that is always like a little messy process. There's always that little moment of like humiliation, you know, like when you have to get off the lap after a spanking. If you're the spanker or the spanky, like whoever is getting off the lap.
Yes.
Oh, it's
my
not
God.
pretty.
It's never pretty. Even when you need to switch sides to get the other side a rest, It's never pretty. And one guy's going, will you be able to give me the same spanking with your left as your right? I'm like, sure. And I kept giving the spanking with my right, and he had no idea it was in my left hand.
I don't know. Can you tell the difference now?
Yes.
And you're like still with the right
my
hand.
right or my left?
I don't know. I'm going to do it with the right. Okay, tell me. I'm going to do it with the left. Can you tell? Oh, stronger with the left. Okay, I'll ease up.
Yes, you know.
I've never done that before.
No, you haven't. It is, after all, fantasy role play, and we are exceptionally good at our jobs. Because it makes me feel really good when a client leaves and they have experienced everything they absolutely wanted to experience in that session and still conform to the rules of the dungeon.
Yes.
That is amazing.
And it's brilliant and beautiful, and they want to come back, and we want them to come back.
Of course.
And, I'm so grateful for so many of my clients are just
I've had some
fantastic
magnificent clients.
Angels, and and sometimes, yes, you have that, like, wow, what do they think they're getting in this?
Yes.
Or they think it's strictly like, I just put down this money and it crossed the table, and you are the Pepsi that I bought. I can do whatever I want to do with this Pepsi.
Yeah,
and
we do get that. Even as
You
a dom, I
can't.
get them. Well, you're gonna show me your pussy, right? And you're gonna finger yourself, right? Or can I stick my finger in you? And you're like, fuck no! What part of this do you not get? Did you not read the fucking rules in the fucking interview room? What is fucking wrong with you? But there are still those gentlemen out there.
Right.
I don't know why. They think they're the exception to the rule.
The exception to the
If
rule.
you want that kind of woman, you call an escort service. We are BDSM professionals. We will beat the fuck out of you, but nothing more. So get it together. Okay, we'll do a little bit more than beat you, but god damn it, I ain't gonna fuck you. I ain't gonna give you a goddamn hard hand job, and I ain't sticking anything up your goddamn ass. I hate that. Oh, you're sure you can't finger me a little bit?
You're just a little.
No!
Just a little.
No!
Because once one's in, I'm just committed.
Stick your own thumb up your ass!
I do like to make clients do things to themselves when I'm dominating. Like, I don't even say, I've left, like, hit it as hard as you can.
I love that.
And I'm like that.
That's not hard enough.
I'm like, okay, like this. Boom. Now hit it as hard as you can. And they're like, yes, mistress. And I'm like, really? You're gonna let a woman hit you harder than you can hit yourself?
Oh, I love that.
And they're like, I'm trying, mistress. I'm like, I am not going to touch you until you give yourself like a good. I want you to like cry a little. Like, I just want tears. One hit with tears that come to your eyes.
I could see one client that could do that. I mean, when I was a submissive, if they asked me to do that, I would cut my skin open.
Right? You'd be like, okay, you want a handprint on the inside of my thigh? Okay.
Wanted that. My sir got what he wanted. I would take that fucking scalpel and slit myself open.
Which is why it's a good thing that you are not professional.
Well, no. This is part of the reason why I don't sub professionally. I am an extremely obedient submissive when I put myself in that headspace.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. Yeah.
So how do you protect yourself when you're in that headspace?
I mean, I learned really early on. I was referencing like the horrible scene of that was like the role play, not a role play, and I just want to come in and beat my cheating wife kind of scene. And I had right at that time frame, and like I said, I think had just been playing professionally for a couple of months. And I had 3 scenes in a less than a week time that were not the same scene, but of that nature, like a scene that I was like, I should have called the scene.
Yeah. And
I came out of the third one starting to describe the scene, right? Starting to come down, like, and talk to the girls, like we do after scenes. And
when you finally get enough trust to talk to people.
You know, and I heard myself starting to say, I should have called the scene. And I was like, oh, you never get to come out of that room saying that. You never get to come out of that room saying, I should have called the scene. You are a grown woman with a brain and an incredible amount of intelligence, and obedience is obedience. This is still a job. This is professional play. And yes, in personal play, you should also have your limits respected and all of that. I don't mean to say that,
it's a little harder in the personal world, but in
but
the
in
professional
play,
world,
like it was,
you do have that right.
It was such a learning thing for me. Like I was like, oh, I'm a little disgusted with myself to hear these words wanting to come out of my mouth again. And I just promised myself that I would never, ever again come out of a session saying I should have called the scene. I would just call the scene.
I'm so glad you came to that conclusion.
Really early on.
It took me a lot longer because I knew I was older and that it was harder for me to get sessions. So I probably put up with a lot more than I should have, you know, just to try to keep clients. You know,
I came into the scene. I mean, I've only been playing for a few years. I'm 47. So I came into the scene 43, 44. And, you know, when you're playing, most of the other women on staff, many of the other women on staff are in their 20s, particularly the submissives, right? Like they're coming in their 18, 20, 22. And I know that was a good education for me too, being in this professional space. I just like, the clients want what the clients want.
Well, they do.
And
they do.
If they want the blonde, they don't want me. And if they want the short woman, they don't want me. And if they want the incredibly voluptuous woman or the incredibly thin woman, they don't. I'm not in their fantasy profile.
Well, exactly.
And it doesn't matter. It's nothing actually about me.
No, it's not, because I would get the client like, oh, I've been dying to session with a mature woman. Oh, you're gorgeous and you're mature. I'm like, oh, gee, thanks. I feel so beautiful after you said that. Oh, wow. Nobody's ever said that to me. Oh, you made my world. But you know, you have to accept your role in the thing. And a lot of people go, why have you stuck this out for so long? You don't session as much as the other girls. I said, I understand I'm a specialty niche. I'm amazing at bondage, and I am mature for the average person you will see in this scene for a professional on the West Coast.
Right.
And I accept that. I also treasure the fact that the clients that do find and appreciate me treasure what they get, because I am amazing.
Exactly.
Cassie,
exactly.
We're broadcasting on Meerkat. Would you explain to them that you guys are pro doms and you guys work in Los Angeles and you guys are into BDSM?
Oh, absolutely. I have been a professional dominatrix since I do believe the first time I decided to go pro back in 2008. Unfortunately, a dom decided to make me a submissive when I asked them to train me. So I finally made it into the professional world in 2010 after I took Mr. Cyan's class on how to be a professional dominatrix. When I first ventured into this, I wasn't independent, and I used to rent space and try to see clients as a pro dom. At that time, I was not aware that anybody could make a living as a professional submissive or a professional switch. Right. I was told by lifestylers, oh, you cannot make a living as a submissive. It is not possible. And they flat out told me, well, it was a ruse to keep me as a submissive for a while. Pretty soon I discovered that there is a pro world out there. And there is a certain magic about that. And it is a good program that really understands the fantasy role play of it, that understands the training that it takes to truly be good at this. It is amazing to be a pro. But it's a process. It absolutely is a process. And it takes a while for you to embrace the fact that you too can be there because of people's misconceptions.
Yes. Yes. It took me, I mean, not everybody in my life knows that I do this work. Because, well, I mean, not everybody in my life knows that I do any certain kind of work, you know.
Yeah, how many people in life really pay attention to what you really do?
You know, and then there is that recognition of there's a lot of explaining that can go
Mhm.
into it and that has to go into it that's wonderful when a person really wants to be educated about it and is
Yes.
really open to it, and they show that their respect and their care for you. And the minute you get a question from someone and it comes with that undercurrent of disrespect,
Yes.
it's like, I'm not interested in having this conversation. You're not interested in knowing
What
I do.
Exactly.
Like, and there are people who think, oh, she goes and she has sex with people and it's like,
it is
okay,
not about that. I don't
am-
have sex with any of my submissives, professional or lifestyle.
right.
The only person I have sex with is the person that is my significant other. They think all of us are poly or sluts or something. No, this is true fantasy roleplay. I have freaking skills. I dare any of you out there to tie like I can tie, to spank like I can spank, to whip like I can whip. I have trained. What I can do with a cock, you can only dream of doing. Trust me, I know every vein in that cock, in the scrotum. I know exactly what to do with it. And pain, pleasure, you have to understand pain gate theory.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We have anything to add to that? I have a little bit of a soapbox, as you can tell. I jumped right on it.
Soapboxes are good.
Yes.
Soapboxes are good. Yeah. I mean, I would say one thing, like, I also want to take care not to, because it puts us in a tricky position sometimes to talk about what we do, and I have no interest in being defensive sounding and saying, I don't have sex with my clients. It's not an apology. It's simply the fact of the world that we work in. It is not the nature of the work that we do.
No.
There are people out there who have sex as a profession, and more power to you. I want for them to be safe. I want for them to have brilliant experiences and make money and be healthy and change the world's minds about sexuality in the same way I want to change the world's minds about sexuality. But we operate in different realms.
We do.
Of a larger sphere. And so it makes me anxious sometimes to be like, oh, no, I don't have sex with my clients. It's like, there are people outside of the BDSM realm who are interested in having sex for money.
Yes, and more power to them,
right?
But that is not what
we do.
But
it's not the work that we do. It's not the profession that we've stepped into.
And even between us and the, quote, prostitutes that we're talking about, there is a gray area. There are some mistresses that consider strap-on to be okay. That personally is not in my repertoire. Mm-hmm. I don't do anything involving penetration. It's not what I do. I don't involve anything involving pleasure that will get you off.
Right.
What I do is a little bit different. I have been highly trained in what I do. Not to say that I can't do that, but, the act of actually having sex and making love with an individual, it, just like you people out there, is something I reserve for that very special loved one that is my one and only spouse in life. We have morals just like everybody else in the world. We just have training in a different venue. Any questions in the chat room, Mel?
Let me go back to the chat room. Hold on.
Wee! She got up close and personal with us.
Like a little backup sound there for Mel.
They're talking about. Oops, let me put on my mic.
They're talking about pain gate theory, and they go and they're just talking. They're just talking in the chat room, and they say that you're fucking hilarious. And I don't think the chat room understands that I just decided to broadcast on Maritash also. So this is kind of fun. So we only have a couple more minutes of the show. So in the chat room, is she naughty? Is our guest naughty or nice?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, goodness.
Actually, I think you've been very intelligent. Maybe intelligently naughty or intelligently nice. I can't tell.
I'm a switch.
Exactly. You're a switch. You're naughty and nice.
I don't want to pick one or the other.
And I appreciate that. No, I know being a switch, because in the lifestyle, I played more as a switch, where professionally, I definitely am more comfortable as a dom. Yeah. It's just the way that I've landed.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it took me a while to figure that because I'm the kind of person I just go to, well, what do you need? I'll do it. You need switches, I'll be a switch. Wasn't a good idea for me.
Sometimes you don't know until you give it a try, though, right? Like, when you're like,
Exactly.
okay, I'm going to do this thing. Wow, I'm not going to do that thing anymore.
Okay, now talking about all this, and this is the biggest problem I have with people who immediately think, I'm only going to be a dom. We get those girls coming in the dungeon, I'm only going to be a dom.
Right.
I don't feel I would be as a good a dom if I hadn't submitted in the first place and understood what it felt like to get beaten, to be hit by a single tail, to be hit by a paddle, to be hit by a flogger. I've experienced everything that I will do to another human being. So when I hit another human being in whatever fashion or whatever consent we've agreed to, I am very cautious about working within their comfort level.
Yes, absolutely. I think that I would love for dominants to submit and go through a process. But I think there's a difference actually, obviously there's a difference between bottoming and submitting. And there are some, I think all dominants should have to bottom.
Yes.
I do not think all people are capable of submitting.
Exactly.
They're really different realms to occupy, like, and to actually slip into that space where your concern is pleasing. What you are trying to do is to figure out how to please the person that you're submitting to.
Yes.
And that's not the same thing as I want to know how this implement works, and all of that. I do think dominants should know to the best of their ability. Like, if you're going to use a single tail on someone, have someone use it on you so
at
that
least
you can
know what it feels
know
like,
what it
even
feels
if
like.
you can't submit to it. And another reason why I don't submit is because I am that person. Am I doing what they want? And I'm giving what they want to make them feel like the dominant, and I will ignore my limits to make them feel better.
Which is dangerous.
Absolutely.
Don't do
so
that.
If you're that kind of submissive, don't be a pro submissive. At least become a switch. Mel, any announcements for TSR?
No. Do I have any announcements for TSR? No, but this is airing live on TSR Network, YouTube, TalkingSexRadio.com, TSRnetwork.com, Facebook, FetLife, Twitter, Google Plus, and now we're doing it on Meerkat, and this is kind of fun.
Oh my
I'm
God.
holding the iPad up, and this is an educational show about BDSM. So anybody that wants to know more, somebody just retweeted this. And we can go a little bit longer if you want to go a little bit longer.
Do you have a few more minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just holding the iPad, but we do have a camera on them. It's airing on all the other places. This is a show that airs every Tuesday at 9 p.m. at TSRnetwork.com, and then we also have the Rev Mel Show on Monday evenings at 8 o'clock on TSRnetwork.com. This is a network about BDSM and education, and we believe in safe, and consensual, and the safety of people that are in the BDSM lifestyle. This is not a porn site, so just letting everyone know. So enjoy, and let's tweet this out to all of your friends and have them come, because these are two sexy, hot women that are pro-doms, but yet very bright and intelligent, classy, and elegant. So carry on. We can go a few more minutes. I'm just standing here holding.
Mel. Well, because it is, we may be professionals. I don't know about you, but I always played lifestyle before I actually became professional. I was involved in that. And there was a little bit of confusion there for a while, knowing what was expected from me from my service as a submissive. And then, a client would try to book the same thing, but how did I gauge that? Giving them the satisfaction of looking like I was in subspace, but still being alert enough that I was protecting myself.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
It is tricky business. And yes, I started out lifestyle in my 20s and was very fortunate to enter in a really safe way into the space, like with people who had been playing for a very long time, who could protect me.
Nice.
And also teach me all sorts of things. And at that time, I was just really interested in experience. Like, you know, I don't know. Like, I was like, I don't know, what other crazy thing are you going to cook up that you're going to do to me right now? You know, so in that way that I tell people, like, oh, put just, you know, toe in the water, go down, you know, on the shallow side of the pool. I did not.
You know,
I did not do that myself.
And I wish they would allow more people to do that, because I know as a teenager, I didn't want to be having sex, but everybody pressured me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and accused me of being a virgin, but I didn't want to admit to them that I wasn't one because I was molested as a child. You know, so having to deal with all that, not being able to actually profess that, you know, I was really a virgin because I never really had sex. I was molested.
Yeah, that's,
you know, and it was all confusing. And, you know, just being allowed to be human beings, not to have somebody pressure you into. It's like, I admire these people who can be a virgin into their 20s and 30s. I didn't last. Everybody kept pressuring me, you know, and I ended up doing a lot of things I wasn't ready for. I really had no knowledge what I was doing, but was just doing it because I had to be accepted.
right.
You know, and I see people doing that in the BDSM scene. I see so many submissives, they want so badly to be accepted. They'll like anybody beat them. You've got a name. God, I'll do anything for you. I don't care if you light my hair on fire. As long as somebody knows that I'm submitting to you on stage, I'm happy. And I see this all the time with the young girls. But you can't tell them. It's like, I know these guys in the scene that they're playing with. But if I talk to them about the truth of what is really going down, well, first of all, they're not going to see it because of the immaturities. Oh, you're just jealous because I'm young. And then there's the guys, well, oh, you're just jealous because you're old. It's like, no, there's a real protection factor here, you guys.
Definitely.
You know, I'm not just a bitter old woman. I actually care about people. But yeah, I am a bitter old woman. What's the matter with you fucks?
But you're a hot bitty. You're not old. Give me a fucking break. You
Right? I'm like, who am I talking to right now?
So the people that are watching, we have a lot of people on America that's watching. This is a live broadcast of Naughty and Nice on TSRnetwork.com. So this is all our network's all about BDSM and safety. So this is the first time we've tried this. I think I like this. There's been 19 people that have watched it so far, which has been great for something that's brand new. There are 3 people in the chat room. Non-Morio 22 has retweeted this. Kix Keller, it says, you know, hashtag catch. So they've been hashtagging this, which is great. So if you guys like this show, please go to TSR Network and watch it live. This is kind of fun. I don't know if I want to hold this iPad.
Yeah, sure are.
Definitely.
It's kind of rocky, so I'm going to have to put it in a stand eventually if we're going to do this again. This is awesome.
You need a submissive.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yes, you
Your
heard it
iPad
here on
holder.
TSR. Is there any local submissives in Studio City that want to come help assist us with the program? You could learn how to do the board. You could be Mel's sidekick. It could be freaking awesome if you're honest, really honest about committing to us. You have to actually submit.
You might get some spankings also.
Yeah, I could spank you. If you need spanking to be paid to do this, I get fucking awesome spankings. You know, we could work
We need to have a
something out.
spank off at some point.
Oh, we really
I
should.
love
When's the last
spanking.
time we had a spank off at Sanctuary?
Have we had one?
No,
Not
we've
since I've
had
been
birthday
there.
spankings. We've had the, you know, survivor challenges and stuff.
Right.
You know, but we haven't had a spankathon.
I'm going to go
Be
in the
fun.
chat room on TSR Network because we have a chat room and see what people are doing. I'm still
Yes.
going to keep this on so you guys can, you know, I'm going to let them see the studio for a little bit.
Absolutely.
There's a broadcasting there, and it's broadcasting there. And here's our chat room. There's people that are talking and gabbing. So, and people are in there. And so I'm going to go back and no questions. So let's go back to you. Whoa, there you are.
Whoa.
Hi there. Oh, good times, good times. Now, you've been a professional now for well over a year.
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years.
Mhm.
So how much have you seen change in the scene? I know I've seen a lot change in the last 5 years.
Yeah. I think, I mean, the internet, right? Like
Mhm.
the increasing, like people can find each other online in ways that don't necessitate them coming to a dungeon, or they don't
Yeah.
think that it does. Which, I mean, the thing that I would hope to see is more people coming in as couples,
Yes.
and being willing to experiment together and try to. It's one of the things that our business thrives on. Generally, men who don't feel like they can actually get this in their relationship.
That's so true. How many married clients do you have that say they don't feel their wife can accept this? So this is a little something they do off to the side every once in a while to get it out of their system, and then they go back to being the upstanding husband.
Right.
Now, some of them do have an arrangement with their wife. Some of them don't feel they can ever approach them on this subject.
Which is interesting to me. And it's not a subject that clients are particularly comfortable talking.
No, they're not.
About. They don't want to really talk about that. And it's a shame, and not in the sense of I want to pry in their personal business, but even asking like, well, why don't you talk about this with your wife? And they're like, oh, they're like, no, I couldn't do that. And what I can hope is that, with increased visibility and more people are talking about this in a mainstream way, that as people get curious, that they'll want to learn some things from professionals, right? Like I love doing scenes with couples and doing doubles with a mistress, so we can co-teach. And then I can also be like the test sub, dummy in the room, where it's like
teaching session.
Yeah,
it's like the couple brings in their toy bag. You show them how to use everything in the bag. It's fabulous. Those are the sessions I live for. Those are the most fun.
They are a joy, and I wish that more people would access that, even if it's just like they just come in 3 weeks, 5 weeks, or something like that. And
don't you feel some people need to have a guilty secret?
Yes, some people do. But there's like the guilty pleasure secret, and then there's the guilty eats your soul secret. And
that's true.
It's the guilty eats your soul secret. It pains me. It pains me for clients that they can't bring their full self into some of the most important relationships in their life.
It's tearing their soul apart because they love their wife so much.
Exactly.
That they don't want to bring shame or dishonor to their relationship. Yet they have this part of them they so badly need to indulge, but they're so embarrassed or ashamed that they just don't want to show their spouse that they have this dirty side of them. Mostly because they probably have them on the perfect pedestal. Oh my God, she goes to church and she's perfect and God's going to send her to heaven.
She'd never want me to. She'd never.
Oh, she'd never submit.
And
she's too holy.
She'd never hit me. She'd never.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But then I just think, and then how many partners, how many wives are also in that equation, not stating their desire.
Exactly.
and not getting it fulfilled, because it's far less common for women to come in for professional services.
And it is.
I have female clients and I adore them and adore working with them, but it's very few and far between.
Most of them rarely venture out beyond the Harlequin novel, beyond those romance novels, beyond those dirty little 50 Shades of Grey novels.
50 Shades of shit!
Yeah, there should be 50 Shades of Brown, but for whatever reason, 50 Shades shit is gray. But, it's safe within that. The mommy, the mommy porn, as Mel has been very fond of saying over the years, and it's true, some of the dirtiest people I know are the most upstanding Christians you'll ever meet. However, what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. We all love our guilty little secrets, don't we? Hypocrites.
Sometimes they're lovely to have.
They are, but you sometimes
when it starts to break you down.
You
have that
do.
secret.
And I have to tell you, there are a lot of judgmental people in this world. All throughout my life, I have had people that have judged me for one reason or another because I choose not to conform to society at large. You know, I'm an artist. I'm not a sexual deviant. Though I have been deviant at times in my sexual behavior, but I am not a sexual deviant. There's a difference. You know, my days of fucking on the cold hood of a Chevy underneath the full moon are probably a distant memory at this point.
I'm looking forward to it.
Right, I was gonna say, let's hope.
Well,
not.
you want to find me a 1967 Chevy with a cold steel hill?
No, I want a 22-year-old hot with the. Let's not talk about it.
Yes, I
Apparently
know.
we're putting
Well,
a
I'm
call
not
out.
22, Mel. I'm
Well,
55.
Yeah, but I'm older than you. Ha 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 ha.
So should we find somebody 22 years younger than you?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. I like him young. And
She
stupid.
does.
There you
She
go.
does. I'm a little bit more age appropriate.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm sorry, I'm just not a chicken hawk.
Chicken hawk.
Chicken hawk!
I'm a snow leopard.
She is a snow leopard, and
Yeah.
she'll pounce on anything young and tender.
So there are 4 people in here that are watching, but there are 26 that are watching. I don't understand that. It's like math that I don't understand. And
It's
people,
quantum physics, I think.
Yeah, people have retweeted this, and I should have done this from the beginning of the show, but then I'd be standing here for an hour and 16 minutes like this, and I'll figure something out. This is
Well, you
fun.
know, they can do this next week because you know who my guest is going to be next week?
Who's your guest?
Goddess Moon. Do you know who?
Sweet,
Do you know who
yes.
Goddess Moon is?
Yes, Miss
She
Sanctuary
is
Leather.
Miss Sanctuary Leather. And I have to tell you, she is incredible. I spent several hours, I think, talking to her at DomCon. Her outreach to the community is above and beyond any leather title person I have ever talked to. She has gotten like 5 of the 9 leather bars in town to agree to have a female title, which is unheard of. And it's about time that LA had this equality. It's been a long time in LA that males have dominated our leather scene. And I think it's about time they had something from the female sect. Because we are fucking awesome. And you have something to reckon with. And I know you're going to love our guest next week, Goddess Moon, because she is fabulous.
Super duper fabulous.
So real quick, what's your contact information if somebody wants to session with you?
They should go to the Sanctuary site, and they can also contact me directly through my email, which is Miz Fiona X, MIZFIONAX @gmail.com. And my website is under construction, so you can look forward to that.
Awesome. All right. I hope you'll keep checking in with both me and check out Miss Fiona and her sites.
And how can people contact you, Miss Cassie?
Oh my goodness, Miss Cassie, how can we contact me? Oh, there are a million ways to contact
You
me.
can get in touch with me, and I would just pass the message along.
That's absolutely true. Or through the Sanctuary website. My Gmail is MissCassieLovesRope@gmail.com. I'm also on Nita, Miss Cassie, I think it's rope groups or rope bondage classes. I'm also on FetLife and Facebook. I'm Clue Darker. I'm Miss Cassie on FetLife. I'm Clue Darker on FetLife. If you can't find me, you got problems. I'm out there. And you know what? I actually answer my emails. If I don't answer you, I get 400 emails a day. Send me another one and I will answer you.
And for people that are watching, there's now 7 that are here watching, but there are 30 that have been watching.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're interested in watching the shows, you can go to TSRnetwork.com, go to the archives. All of the archives are there, and all the past shows, which are really informative and interesting, as we are the real 50 Shades of Grey.
Absolutely. And if you want to learn how to tie a little bit of rope, I happen to be teaching a rope bondage class tomorrow at the Laird Sod from 8 to 10, and I teach there every Wednesday from 8 to 10. I also teach a couple of classes every month at Sanctuary. You're going to have to email me. Let me tell you all about it.
Oh, I have an announcement. Rev Mel holding the iPad, shaking
Yes.
it like mad. I will be teaching at the stock room on June 13th, a class on negotiations and the toys that you use in BDSM.
Oh, that is awesome,
So,
Mel.
Yeah, I'll be teaching there on the 13th.
Well, there
I'll be
you
talking to
go,
Los
audience.
Yeah.
that will be a great class because
Absolutely.
negotiation is so important. And how many of us think to actually negotiate individual toys?
Yep.
You know, I know that when I was first in this scene, I was, you know, so into pleasing my dom, I often didn't question what toy he was going to use on me.
Right.
You know, and then sometimes I didn't know what that
You
toy
didn't know
was
what it
gonna do
was,
to me.
right? Exactly. Those are the ones you get to negotiate into the like, we could give it a try, but I might say no.
And also, Rub Mel's at the Lear Decide on every Tuesday, the second and the fourth Friday of each month, teaching the S&M open form class for newbies. If you're interested in the real 50 Shades of Grey, come and join us.
That is absolutely true. Your classes are legendary, Mel. She has introduced more people into this scene than anybody else I have met in the entire country.
In the world.
In the world. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't met everybody in the world.
I think Midori might have beaten me.
Well, yeah, she's pretty famous. She's pretty famous.
She's she's a little bit more famous more than I am. So, but yeah, Midori, yeah. There's a lot of people that are watching. Right, this has been wonderful. I'm going to go back to the board.
All right. I want to thank
What a
everybody
treat.
that has tuned in tonight. This has been a good show.
What a treat. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. I really enjoyed talking to you. You have a
You as
lot of
well.
great things to say.
Thank you.
Is there any magic words of wisdom you'd like to part with for our audience? Or
Play as hard as you want and be as safe as you can.
I like that. That reminds me of my grandmother when she used to babysit us. She said, if you can't be good, at least be careful.
Exactly. Exactly. For God's sake, don't be good. Don't
All
go
right.
there.
So good night, everybody. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in with me. And I hope you'll tune in next week when my very special guest will be Goddess Moon. Good night, everybody.
Good night.